The conversation unveils essential details about Maddie's appearance, from her reddish-brown hair to the vibrant red t-shirt she wore. These vivid specifics empower responders to identify her swiftly, igniting hope in the hearts of those searching for her. Sheila recounts the last time she saw Maddie at around 5:30 p.m., a crucial piece of the timeline that highlights the urgency of her disappearance. This pivotal information serves as a beacon for the police's determined search efforts, reinforcing the importance of every moment. In the face of adversity, Sheila takes immediate action, rallying neighbors for a search party, which exemplifies the power of community unity in times of crisis. This collective effort is a profound testament to the compassion and urgency that resonate throughout the community. Maddie's last moments were spent playing with her dear friend Josh, who lived just across the street. The bond they shared deepens the heartbreak for the community as they desperately search for her, amplifying the emotional stakes of the situation. The community's response to Maddie's disappearance was nothing short of extraordinary. With hundreds of volunteers joining in the search, they distributed flyers and promised a significant reward, all aimed at bringing Maddie home safely, showcasing the unbreakable spirit of togetherness. Initially, the police focused their investigation on a neighbor with a troubling past, only to clear him quickly of any suspicions. With the involvement of the FBI, the gravity of the situation became evident, underscoring the need for thorough and dedicated investigative efforts. Missy, in her state of disbelief, sought the help of a police officer, a powerful moment that encapsulates the shock surrounding Maddie's disappearance. As the truth began to unravel, the weight of the situation intensified, forcing everyone to confront the harsh reality. Investigators stumbled upon unsettling evidence in Josh's room, including a baseball bat and a knife, which suggested a sinister attempt to obscure the crime. The presence of air fresheners hinted at an effort to mask the truth, further complicating the narrative of innocence. The autopsy delivered the heartbreaking confirmation of Maddie's tragic fate, revealing multiple injuries inflicted with a bat and knife, culminating in her untimely death. This grim revelation illuminated the severe nature of the crime committed, leaving the community in shock. In a moment of panic, Josh's actions spiraled into an unimaginable crisis when Maddie was accidentally hurt. This unsettling incident raises poignant questions about the psychological influences that can drive individuals to act irrationally in moments of distress. As the investigation progressed, inconsistencies emerged in Josh's accounts, prompting a closer examination of his explanation. Many found his narrative hard to believe, given the tragic circumstances surrounding Maddie's death, igniting skepticism in the community. Despite his involvement in the search, a chilling revelation hit the community hard. Josh was, in fact, the one responsible for Maddie's death. This shocking discovery raised deep questions about trust and perception within their tightly knit environment. Although the police conducted an earlier search of the Phillips home, their assertions of finding nothing suspicious sparked concern about their investigative techniques. This oversight loomed large, especially when weighed against the tragic circumstances surrounding Maddie's disappearance. Missy, Josh's mother, painted a picture of their home life as intimidating, influenced by her husband's domineering presence. This complex family dynamic may have contributed to Josh's fears and actions, emphasizing how our environments can shape tragic outcomes. The autopsy findings revealed no signs of a struggle, like bruising or dirt, directly contradicting Josh's claim that Maddie's death was an accident. These decisive revelations significantly bolstered the prosecution's case, underscoring the need for justice. Josh's apparent lack of authentic remorse raised alarm bells, hinting at deeper narcissistic traits such as grandiosity and entitlement. These troubling characteristics complicate our understanding of his actions and the broader implications for society. The Supreme Court's landmark ruling declaring life sentences without parole for juveniles unconstitutional has profound implications for cases like Josh's, reshaping the landscape of justice and affecting sentencing outcomes in future cases. Emerging revelations about Josh's attraction to violent content and a potential obsession with Maddie's sister compel us to grapple with unsettling questions regarding the premeditated nature of his crime. These insights demand reflection on the influences that shape young minds.
Hey, Gene?
Jacksonville 911.
Yes, sir. Hi. This is, I went out to play this afternoon. I thought she was with her, and now she's missing.
How old is she?
She's 8 years old.
Where was she playing at around the house?
Right around the house here.
She a white female or a black
Yes,
female?
she's a white female.
What did she have on when she left?
She had on a red T-shirt. And Mama, did she have on jeans? No, I've been upstairs, Mama. I have searched.
Ma'am.
Yes.
Blue jeans?
Mama, did she have on blue jeans? What'd you have on? What kind of shorts?
Pair of shorts?
She had on a pair of shorts and a red T-shirt.
She blonde hair? Black
No,
hair?
she's got reddish-brown hair. It's actually a brown with an auburn tint to it.
What's her name?
It's short. Her name is Maddie. She goes, it's
What's her
Madeline.
last name?
Clifton, C-L-I-F as in Frank, T-O-N.
When's the last time anybody saw her?
Mama, what time did I come home from voting? About 5:30? 4:30 to 5 o'clock. About 5:30 was the last time we saw her. And I was letting the kids play out here for a little while, and then she disappeared, and nobody knows where she's at.
She have any friends nearby? Did you go check?
I got every neighbor out here right now.
Okay, the police will be there shortly, ma'am. You keep looking, okay?
Okay, do
All right.
you know where I am? I mean, I'm at the corner of Fleetwood and Stephen is right there.
What is it?
My husband just came home. And, hold on just a moment. Honey, Maddie is gone. No. Okay, my husband just pulled up, but she's not with him, of course.
Okay, the police are going to be there shortly, ma'am, okay?
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The frantic 911 call you just heard was made by Maddie Clifton's mother, Sheila, moments after she realized that her young daughter was missing. As the police arrived and the neighborhood gathered to search for her, no one could have possibly imagined the heartbreaking and horrifying end to this case. The following footage contains never-before-seen crime scene photos. The last person to see 8-year-old Maddie Clifton on November 3, 1998 in Jacksonville, Florida, was her friend and neighbor, Joshua Earl Patrick Phillips. Because 14-year-old Josh's house was right across the street, the two had become fast friends and often hung out together. On that day, Maddie had gone over to Josh's house to play baseball outside in his backyard. Later, Maddie headed home, but she never arrived. Around 5 p.m., her mother made the disturbing 911 call you heard when she realized that no one could find Maddie. She was last seen wearing a red YMCA basketball shirt with her name across the back in big letters. Immediately, hundreds of people got together and searched for her, looking in the woods around her home and even in dumpsters. Early in the search, Josh asked Maddie's mother what was going on, and once he learned that no one could find Maddie, he eagerly joined the community to help search for his friend. Josh was distraught when he heard that Maddie had gone missing and did everything he could to help find her, putting up flyers with Maddie's information and helping to canvass the area where she vanished. Maddie's face, often a picture of her with a Kool-Aid-stained smile, was plastered onto billboards and t-shirts, and a $50,000 reward was offered in the hopes that someone, anyone, would recognize her and tell her anguished family what had happened to the bright and happy little girl. For almost a week, the community rallied together to search for missing Maddie. The first suspect was one of Maddie's neighbors, a man who had been accused of involvement in an assault case over 15 or 20 years earlier. However, the man had an alibi for when Maddie disappeared, and he was cleared of any suspicion. Soon, the FBI was involved when the local police struggled to find any more leads, but they too didn't find any new evidence. It was starting to look like Maddie had disappeared off the face of the earth. But everything changed 6 days after Maddie disappeared, when the most unsuspecting person was revealed to have the darkest secret. Missy Phillips, Josh's mother, noticed a strange wet spot on the floor of their house. From there, she started searching her son's room until her attention was brought to Josh's bed. She later said, "I didn't want to believe what I was seeing." Then, in shock, she left her house, looking around for a police officer. For a moment, she glanced over at the neighboring Clifton's house and thought to herself at that moment, they still were holding on to hope, but they would soon have their world crash down around them. The officer Missy found had been camped outside of the Clifton house during the search for Maddie. The officer followed Missy back inside, but entered Josh's room alone to see the horror that Missy had discovered. Sticking out from under Josh's mattress were Maddie's small feet. I have to warn you that the following details of what happened to little Maddie are especially disturbing, and not for the faint of heart. Josh had known where Maddie was all along. When he was asking Maddie's mother about what was going on, when he was handing out flyers, when he appeared to be worried about her well-being. All that time, Josh had known that Maddie's body was hidden under his waterbed. Police found that tape had been used to hold the bed frame together and keep her body from being discovered. In addition, the shorts she'd been wearing earlier were taken off. Investigators found a baseball bat hidden behind Josh's dresser, and they also found a knife stashed in the room. It was also noted that air fresheners were sitting on his nightstand, along with freshly burned incense and air freshener spray. Even more disturbing, a flyer about Maddie's disappearance had been placed next to the air fresheners. What this told the police was that there was a clear attempt to cover up the smell of Maddie's decomposing body. Possibly the most disturbing discovery was that as her body was removed from the bed, her hand was still clutching the bed frame, meaning that she had still been alive when she was shoved under there. Had she still been alive when everyone was out looking for her? Or when Josh was in the street pretending that he didn't know what had happened to Maddie after she left his house? We may never know. But what is clear is that if Josh had reported what happened, Maddie might have lived. An autopsy revealed that Maddie had been struck 3 times in the head, and it was believed that Josh's recovered baseball bat had been used as a weapon. Her throat had also been cut with a knife from Josh's room, and she was stabbed 7 to 9 times in the chest, though some sources put that number as high as 11 times. The autopsy also showed no evidence of an assault, despite her underwear being taken off. However, this detail would later come up as a key piece of evidence. Josh Phillips was arrested, and it was a shock to everyone. Those who met Josh described him as a quiet but friendly kid, with nothing particularly remarkable about him. Yet within hours, he admitted to killing Maddie on the day she was reported missing. It was during this confession that Josh gave his account of what happened to Maddie. Remember, this is his side of the story. Josh was home alone when Maddie showed up and asked him to play, and he knew that he wasn't allowed to have friends over when his parents weren't there. The two had been playing baseball in his backyard when Maddie was accidentally hit in the eye by the ball. As she started bleeding, she also started to cry loudly. To calm Maddie down, he brought her into his house, but she kept screaming, which sent Josh into a panic. He told the investigators that he was afraid his father would come home at any minute, and he would be angry with Josh for letting Maddie come into his house without permission. Panicking and wanting Maddie to be quiet, he grabbed his baseball bat and hit her once or twice hard on the head. He then hit her body under his waterbed. When his father finally came home, Josh said that Maddie was still moaning. He then dragged her out from the bed and stabbed her in the chest before hiding her body again until his mother found it. What many people to this day can't help but wonder in horror about is if Josh slept in his bed on top of Maddie's body. And the answer, as terrible as it is, seems to be yes. For a week. Let that sink in. Josh had no history of violence, nothing that would have ever made anyone suspect him, especially his actions when he was helping to look for Maddie. But still, Josh's version of events didn't quite make sense to investigators. For starters, he claimed that Maddie's shorts and underpants had been pulled off when he was dragging her inside the house from outside. Most people can agree, as investigators did, that his explanation didn't quite seem plausible. The tight-knit community was stunned and horrified to learn that the boy that helped search for Maddie just a few days earlier had been her killer all along. Some started questioning the Phillips family about how they hadn't noticed the young girl's body being hidden in their home for almost a week. Missy explained that there was nothing out of order for her to suspect anything. However, there were also signs that something was wrong, which only really made sense in retrospect. Josh had been especially quiet since Maddie was reported missing, but this was just explained away as him being nervous for his friend and scared. Additionally, if you're familiar with this case, then you've probably heard that police officers previously searched the Phillips house in the days before her body was found. The sheriff at the time claimed they searched the house, but that the officers never saw anything suspicious. How the police and Josh's parents didn't notice the smell of a decomposing corpse is beyond me. Josh insisted that he hit Maddie out of fear of his father, but the truth behind his home life wasn't revealed until Missy explained it publicly. She said that she and Josh walked on eggshells at home because her husband was so intimidating, frightening, and sometimes overbearing. He really didn't like it when any neighborhood children were in his house when an adult wasn't there to supervise, but he especially didn't want Josh to spend his time playing with any girls younger than him. Missy said he didn't have a fondness of little girls, which she never understood. Also, Josh's father, Steve, never got the chance to explain his side of things because he died in 2000 in a car accident. When the case went to trial, Josh was charged as an adult. Josh's defense argued that what happened to Maddie began as an accident and deteriorated through panic that bordered on madness, and that he should be charged with manslaughter. But the prosecution wasn't buying it. First, the autopsy didn't find any evidence of bruising on Maddie's face, as if she'd been hit in the eye by a baseball. In fact, there was no evidence that they'd been playing baseball at all. Second, Josh also claimed to have dragged Maddie into the house, but there wasn't any dirt on her body, which implies that her shorts probably didn't come off from being dragged. Furthermore, there wasn't any blood in the backyard or anywhere in the house except in Josh's room. Finally, the fact that Maddie had been found in only her shirt and socks indicated that there were at least some inappropriate undertones to the evidence. In the end, the trial only took about 3 days total. The jury found Josh guilty and convicted him of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to spend his life in prison with no chance of parole, but because of his age at under 16, he wasn't eligible for the death penalty. Behind bars, Josh grew from a teenager to an adult. Josh still refuses to talk in detail about Maddie's murder, except in 2018 to apologize to Maddie's family.
As I've grown up, I have learned the value of life. I wish to God that I could have known this or understood it when I was 14. Had I then, none of this would have come about. I had no clue what life meant.
Josh became tearful at several points while reading his apology letter, but this does not necessarily indicate that he is expressing true remorse. It's possible that he's putting on an act to prove that he's reformed in order to increase the likelihood that he's given a reduced sentence. Being exploitative and taking advantage of others to achieve their own ends is a narcissistic trait. Josh seems to focus much of his apology not on the victim, but instead on himself and his own suffering, which could be the result of other narcissistic traits such as grandiosity and entitlement. Now, the story might seem like it ends there, but it doesn't. In 2017, the case was resentenced, which should have never been a possibility for Josh based on the terms of his first sentence. Yet in 2012, the Supreme Court had ruled that mandatory life sentences without parole were unconstitutional for juvenile offenders convicted of murder. Even more horrifying details about the case were exposed at this trial. It was revealed that Josh had books about occult subjects in his room. In addition, it was shared that Josh had been looking at adult content on his computer just a half hour before Maddie's death, and that it was violent in nature and may have featured underage girls. Josh may have been influenced by these videos, and he may have been fantasizing about acting something similar out for himself. This could indicate that the crime was more premeditated rather than something that happened in the heat of the moment, as Josh originally claimed. If this is true, he may not have chosen Maddie specifically, but instead he took the opportunity when he found himself alone and unsupervised with her. Maddie's mother spoke at the trial and asserted that Josh hadn't been after Maddie that day in 1998, but her other daughter Jessie, who was 11 at the time of her younger sister's death. You see, a photo of Jessie had been found in Josh's room, one that Josh must have stolen from the Clifton house at some point before Maddie's death, which furthered the idea that he'd been obsessed with the Cliftons' other daughter all along. Josh's sentence was upheld after the 4-day trial, and he remains in prison. Still, this saga of a case will continue sooner than you might think, as Josh will once again be eligible for resentencing in 2023, after spending about 25 years in prison. For now, at least, this case doesn't have a conclusion, and it won't for a long time.